The Cleveland Browns did something fans have seen far too many times. They drafted a quarterback, typed him up, and then immediately vanished him. Shedeur Sanders, a walking headline, a mobile, accurate, media-savvy quarterback with NFL lineage and elite college numbers. The Browns took a gamble most teams were scared to make, selecting him in the 5th round. Fans thought that was the beginning of a new chapter. Instead, it's looking like the start of another disaster. From the second Shedeur stepped into the facility, nothing made sense. Reports of him throwing to equipment staff, barely getting real reps, and being boxed out of first-team opportunities became more common than actual updates on his development. And while fans were watching tapes and begging to see him in action, guess what the Browns were doing? They were already scouting next year. Yes. While Shedeur was running drills and completing over 70% of his passes in camp, Brown staff were spotted at college games, evaluating quarterbacks for the 2026 NFL Draft. So let's be very clear here. This isn't a QB battle. This isn't development. This is confusion at best, sabotage at worst. And if you've watched the Browns over the years, you know this pattern way too well. Draft poorly, develop worse, panic early, rinse and repeat. But this time, things feel different. Because Shedeur Sanders isn't just any rookie. He's coming in with expectations, cameras, and legacy pressure that this team clearly isn't ready for. So the question isn't just, will Shedeur play? The real question is, what are the Browns even doing? Because if they already gave up before the season even started, from the moment the Browns drafted Shedeur Sanders, fans were locked in. Every clip, every rep, every sideline moment, all under the microscope. People weren't just watching, they were waiting. This wasn't just another rookie. This was Deion Sanders' son, a college star with one of the cleanest passing resumes in the draft, and a player many thought could have gone in the first 2 rounds, if not for his last name and media attention. By May 2025, fans were already on Shedeur watch. They tracked every piece of footage, every non-highlight, every controversial media statement from the Browns coaching staff. It wasn't paranoia, it was pattern recognition, and what they saw wasn't good. Instead of leaning into Shedeur's momentum, the Browns kept pushing him deeper into the shadows. No first-team reps, no press conferences. No legitimate QB competition. While his teammate Dillon Gabriel was getting opportunities, Shedeur was literally seen throwing to equipment staff during practice. Equipment staff. It felt deliberate. And while the coaching staff gave interviews full of word salad, developing valuable data points, not rushing evaluations, every guy gets a look, fans saw through it. There was no plan. Worse, there was no urgency. People started asking the obvious question. Why draft Shedeur Sanders just to stash him away? If you're not going to give him a shot in camp, what's the point? Even former players and analysts noticed. Training camp results leaked, showing Shedeur had one of the highest completion rates across multiple camps, including rookie camp, OTAs, and minicamp. Yet somehow, he wasn't moving up the depth chart. It stopped looking like a slow rollout and started looking like a quiet benching. And if that was the strategy, it only raised more questions. Because what happened next made the entire situation look far worse. While fans were focused on who would win the Browns' quarterback battle this year, the Browns were already looking at their next one. During training camp, when most NFL teams are locked in on developing their current roster, Cleveland's front office was spotted scouting college quarterbacks. Staff were seen watching Ohio State, Texas, and other top programs, eyeing potential 2026 picks. On paper, it might look like normal due diligence, but in context, it's a panic move dressed up as preparation. You've got 3 quarterbacks on the roster: Joe Flacco, Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. Two are rookies, one's a veteran bridge. Instead of seeing what you have now, you're already shopping around for what comes next? It sent a very clear message. We're not sold on any of these guys. Once that got out, it confirmed what a lot of fans were already thinking. Shedeur was never really in the plans. And Gabriel? He was just a backup plan in a broken system. Some analysts tried to spin it, saying it was chess, not checkers, claiming the Browns were trying to bait teams into thinking they were targeting a specific QB to inflate draft value. But come on, when your rookie QB hasn't even taken meaningful reps and you've barely explored his upside, don't call that strategy. That's failure disguised as foresight. Especially when the guy you're ignoring is drawing attention for how efficient he's been in limited action behind the scenes. And if the Browns were hoping no one would notice, too late. Because fans have caught on, they started asking the real question. If you're already scouting next year's draft, why waste last year's? And with every public sign pointing toward a future plan that doesn't include Shedeur, the pressure is mounting, fast. If the Browns wanted stability at quarterback, they built the exact opposite. Going into the season, Cleveland trotted out a depth chart that looked like somebody drew names out of a hat. Joe Flacco, Dillon Gabriel, and Shedeur Sanders. Three very different stories crammed together in one locker room, and not a single clear path forward. Flacco is the veteran who can keep the offense upright for a stretch, but everyone knows he's closer to retirement than reinvention. Gabriel, a mid-round flyer projected as a developmental backup, not a franchise quarterback. And Shedeur, a fifth-round steal with first-round expectations hanging on his back. That mix isn't strategy. That's a ticking time bomb, and the Browns knew it. Reports from camp showed exactly how disorganized the plan has been. At one point, Shedeur was completing nearly 80% of his passes in controlled settings, while Gabriel was sputtering through brutal practices where he barely connected on double-digit throws. Logic says lean into the hot hand. Give your promising rookie more chances with live reps. But instead of real competition, the Browns froze the room in awkward limbo. Gabriel stayed in the mix. Shedeur got scraps. And Flacco, the one known quantity, walked into an uncontested QB1 role. It didn't feel earned. It didn't feel evaluated. It just felt lazy. And this is where things get dangerous. Because quarterback is the one position you can't afford indecision. You either build around a guy or you move on. But right now, Cleveland is doing neither. They're hoarding options, spinning words like collecting data points, and pretending it's a thoughtful plan. In reality, it looks like fear. Fear that Flacco's too old. Fear that Gabriel's not ready. Fear that Shedeur might succeed, or worse, flop, if given the chance. And when fear drives decision-making, it's only a matter of time before the whole room collapses. Training camp is supposed to be the proving ground, the place where rookies either rise or collapse under pressure. For Shedeur Sanders, it should have been the chance to showcase why so many scouts once had him projected as a first-rounder. Instead, Cleveland turned it into what looked like staged irrelevance. Reports showed Shedeur completing 70 to 80% of his passes across rookie camp, minicamp, OTAs, and even stretches of training camp. That kind of consistency isn't common for a newcomer, especially one battling for recognition in a crowded quarterback room. By contrast, Dillon Gabriel went through a brutal stretch, multiple practices, more than 50 pass attempts, and he barely cracked double-digit completions. Logic says lean into momentum. Give Shedeur extra looks with the twos. Maybe even brief reps with the ones. Let the room sharpen itself with competition. Instead, the Browns did the opposite. Shedeur's reps remained limited, his opportunities confined, and in the most bizarre twist, He was reportedly throwing to equipment staff during practice. Think about that. You draft a quarterback, only to have him developing chemistry with guys who won't even be on the roster. How does that help anyone? And the missed development window is glaring. Training camp is when you can experiment, adjust, and see how rookies react under pressure without killing the season. The Browns had weeks of chances to dial up those scenarios. Instead, they rolled out the most vanilla plan possible. Now, the regular season begins and their rookies are undercooked. It's not just gross mismanagement, it's wasted time that can't be recovered. Fans noticed, analysts noticed, and by August, the question hanging around Berea was no longer, is Shedeur developing? It was louder, harder, and far more damning. Did the Browns ever want him to develop at all? If you want to understand why the Browns continually find themselves in quarterback purgatory, you don't have to look further than Kevin Stefanski and his staff. Because if training camp revealed anything, it's that the coaching decisions only deepened the confusion. Fans expected some kind of clarity heading into the season, a clear QB pecking order, reps that matched production, maybe even a commitment to start grooming one of the rookies. What they got instead felt like a case study in indecision. Veteran Joe Flacco was essentially handed the starting role without serious challenge. Dillon Gabriel, despite shaky, inconsistent performances, continued to get developmental looks. Meanwhile, Shedeur Sanders, the one rookie lighting up passing drills with efficiency, was an afterthought. And then there's the on-field management. Stefanski baffled fans last year by giving up play-calling duties mid-season, then stumbling through inconsistent offensive adjustments. The hiring of Ken Dorsey as offensive coordinator was criticized immediately, and early reports suggest the same communication breakdowns are reappearing. The offense looks undisciplined, penalty-ridden, and directionless. This isn't new. The Browns finished last year plagued by turnovers, sloppy execution, and questionable personnel decisions, much of which falls at the feet of Stefanski. The fan base has tolerated it up to now, but patience is running dangerously thin. Which raises a bigger point. How safe is Stefanski's job? Some analysts insist his seat is ice cold because front office loyalty protects him. But if the Browns flop early and finish with another 5-12 or 4-13 record, you can bet the chorus for his firing will be deafening. And here's the twist. It's not just about wins and losses this year. It's about how the Browns handle Shedeur. If they bury him or mismanage his growth while openly chasing new quarterbacks for 2026, fans won't just question the coaching staff, they'll demand wholesale changes from the top down. Because at some point, what looks like bad luck starts looking a lot more like bad leadership. When the Browns selected Shedeur Sanders and Dillon Gabriel in the same draft, it raised eyebrows. Why draft two rookies at the same position if you don't plan to let them compete? But Cleveland's approach gets even stranger when you look at how they're setting up for the 2026 draft. Right now, the Browns are sitting on 2 first-round picks for next year, plus additional draft capital they could package in a trade. On the surface, that looks like a smart play, giving themselves flexibility to go after a top-tier quarterback in what many expect to be a loaded class. But here's the problem. Even with 2 picks, the Browns might not be able to get to the top. If they stumble into 7 or 8 wins, the kind of mid-level season that feels bad but keeps you out of the top 10, those 2 picks land in the middle of the first round. And history shows no team at pick 15 is trading out of spots 1 through 3 when a franchise QB is sitting there. Teams at the bottom want their guy, and no amount of Cleveland's half-used draft capital will change their minds. So the paradox is clear. The Browns are banking on the future while straight up ignoring the present. Instead of testing Gabriel in a real competition or giving Shedeur reps that could prove he belongs, they're already focused on quarterbacks they don't even own yet. It's drafting with one eye closed, hoping a better answer is waiting around the corner. Meanwhile, fans and analysts are left frustrated because if Shedeur turns into an NFL-ready starter, but the Browns never bothered to find out, they'll be stuck watching another team benefit from the player they buried. And this is the pattern that keeps haunting Cleveland, constantly chasing what's next before they ever make use of what's right in front of them. At this point, Browns fans aren't asking for miracles. They're not demanding an instant playoff run, or for Shedeur Sanders to be the next franchise savior before his jersey even wrinkles. They're asking for something much simpler, a fair look. The Cleveland fan base has been glued to every practice report. They've seen the completion percentages. They've watched Gabriel struggle through miserable stretches. They've seen Shedeur quietly stay efficient in the background. Yet somehow, the reps keep coming up short. The opportunities never arrive, and the coaching staff shrugs it off with vague explanations about long-term planning. That excuse has worn thin, because this isn't about rushing a rookie onto the field. It's about basic evaluation. Just one or two drives with the first team in camp, a handful of series behind the better offensive line, a controlled environment to see what Sanders looks like against NFL-level speed. Even fans who aren't sold on Shedeur agree. That's not too much to ask. Instead, Cleveland's approach left the whole preseason feeling like a magic trick, designed to keep eyes away from the one player everyone wanted to see. Reporters weren't given access. Reps were kept controlled. The public was left trying to piece together clips that looked more like scraps than a real plan for development. And fans aren't dumb. They've lived through this movie before. Too many quarterbacks drafted, stashed, or mismanaged, only to flame out under the headline, "Browns move on again." Shedeur feels like the next chapter of the exact same story. The frustration doesn't come from blind loyalty, it comes from logic. If the Browns were truly interested in building, they would at least test what they've got. Instead, they're making fans wait, with no answers and nothing to hold on to but speculation. And that's why the noise is growing louder. Because until Shedeur gets a real look, everyone will keep asking the same question. What are the Browns so afraid of finding out? If it feels like we've seen this story before, it's because we have, over and over and over again. The Cleveland Browns aren't just known for losing seasons. They're known for destroying quarterbacks. If you Google Browns QB jersey, you'll see it. That cursed fan jersey with a list of fallen names duct taped down the back, stretching all the way to the ground like a scroll of disappointment. Tim Couch, Johnny Manziel, Brandon Weeden. Brady Quinn, Colt McCoy. The list goes on and heartbreakingly, on. Every time the Browns think they found their guy, their decisions around him guarantee the opposite. Whether it's bad coaching, shaky offensive lines, front office infighting, or simply refusing to give their rookies the right opportunities, Cleveland has perfected the art of wasting quarterback potential. And now, Shedeur Sanders risks becoming the next name on that jersey before he's even given a proper shot. Fans fear it. Analysts highlight it. Even neutrals can see it. The exact same bad habits repeating in real time. Overcrowded QB rooms, confusing development strategies, upside ignored in favor of safe veterans. And of course, the endless obsession with chasing next year's quarterback before giving today's rookie a chance. It's football deja vu. An organization that's been chasing quarterbacks for 2 decades and keeps finding new, creative ways to fumble the most important position in sports. Think about it. The Browns drafted Shedeur in May, only to bury him in August. They refused to give him meaningful first-team reps, kept him hidden in practice, and then doubled down by scouting next year's quarterbacks before this year even started. That doesn't look like development. That doesn't look like building. That looks like a franchise terrified of its own decisions, already planning its escape route. And while fans are the first to call out the dysfunction, they're also the ones still hoping Shedeur gets his shot. Because here's the truth, Shedeur might struggle, or he might shine. No one knows yet, but what every Browns fan deserves, after 20 years of this QB carousel, is an actual answer. Not another season wasted in evaluation mode. Joe Flacco will be fine until he hits his limit. Dillon Gabriel may one day be a decent backup, but Shedeur Sanders represents what Cleveland has been hunting for all this time: potential. Untapped, undeniable, pressure-tested potential. So why not explore it? Why not give him the fair chance that all the numbers from camp suggest he earned? Because here's the irony. The longer Cleveland avoids testing what they have, the higher the risk that they'll lose him. And if Shedeur turns into something special somewhere else, this front office won't just look incompetent. They'll look cursed. In truth, maybe they already are. The jersey of fallen Browns QBs keeps getting longer, and unless something changes soon, Shedeur Sanders' name could be stitched to it before his story is even allowed to begin. And if that happens, the Browns won't just lose Shedeur. They'll lose the last shred of faith their fans still have left.